What happens after prison, after addiction, after survival? For some, the story ends. But for others, it begins again, with purpose.
If we can start helping one father at a time, that would be huge.
Meet Ja, a mentor, father, and builder, not of walls, but of lives. He wasn't locked up, but the people he serves were. And he's making sure they don't go back.
From 2009 until even now, I still go to therapy every week. Always work hard to not ignore any feelings and try to get to the root of the problems. So trauma is like a big thing.
In a system designed to push people back into prison, Ja is designing something different. Transitional homes, emotional healing, real fatherhood, and second chances.
One of my dreams is to create a daddy daycare.
Okay.
The goal of that daddy daycare is specifically for single moms.
Right.
My mom was a single mom.
Right.
You know, I have a twin brother, and our biological dad didn't raise any of his kids.
Right.
So imagine having an environment with that fatherhood type of mindset from the time mom first goes back to work.
This isn't charity. It's a blueprint, a plan to break generational cycles. One home, one man, one child at a time.
The third house, potentially, we would love to create some type of rent-to-own option, right? So then they never went back into the environment that could be not the ideal environment for that individual, right?
He's not just keeping people out of prison. He's helping them stay present, be fathers, and heal the kind of pain no system was ever designed to fix.
What men need to hear is being a dedicated partner to your girl.
Right, absolutely.
It's huge, you know? And, you know, historically, I would hear the opposite. You know, most men will hear the opposite. So, you know, and understanding how valuable those decisions are, all those small decisions make a huge difference.
In episode 8 of Locked Up and Locked Out, we explore what it takes to change your life and rebuild your community from the inside out.
Is it really designed for them not to go back, or is it designed for them to go back? And, you know, that's the question I end up asking when I see it from an emotional standpoint. To have those type of results. Because when you talk to these young men, grown men, women, the mindset isn't to go back. The mindset
is to stay here.
Is to stay here, stay out.
This is a story of healing, of leadership, of breaking the cycle, one father at a time.
The podcast. My distinguished guest today is Ja, a man of many hats. Please tell my guest a little bit about your background, sir.
So, Adam, thank you for having me on today.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here. So, originally grew up in the Bronx. Family's originally from Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay.
College-wise, I have a degree in sociology. I graduated from UConn. And then most of my experience has been in sales management. I've always volunteered as a mentor or youth ministry or something like that. So I've always spent time giving back to the community. And moved into West Hartford in 2012. And with a few key partnerships, I helped run a nonprofit called House of Changes, which is a transitional home for forgotten about men who may have experienced incarceration, addiction, and or mental health. And, you know, and then I currently have 5 mentees with the West Hartford school system for elementary age kids from 2nd grade up until 6th grade. And, you know, I do some other stuff here and there. One of my biggest passions is in the process of starting a nonprofit called ABBA. And one of the big reasons why they invited me on here was because one of the programs I want to focus on is to help men who have a systemic cycle of incarceration, who their father, grandfathers, uncles are all incarcerated, and they have fatherless homes because of it at certain periods of time in their childhood. So the main goal for ABBA would be to make a huge impact on having men be more engaged and present. And if we can start helping one father at a time, that would be huge.
Now, not to cut you off, what does ABBA stand for?
So Abba means Papa or Daddy in Hebrew. So it
Okay.
means you actually have an authentic relationship with your father. So, that's why I went with that name.
Great, great. So, for the listening audience, how, in general, do people get in contact with you if they had a loved one that needed some help or some direction? What is your outreach services looking like, as far as, and what community are you based at? Is it just basically for that community right now? Just give them, a little understanding.
So currently live in West Hartford. So a lot of what I do is in this general market. Like the House of Changes, the actual house is in Norwich, Connecticut. And then we have another key partner who she's located in New Haven. And through her nonprofit, she helps create young entrepreneurs. And they help with filling in gaps that minority-owned business owners would need. So whether it's something as simple as getting access to understanding how to apply for the right grants that a specific business owner could take advantage of, whether it's for like during COVID, they had a bunch of different grants that are available if you're a Black business owner, if you're a woman business owner, things of that nature. So, that's some of the stuff that, like, because we do a lot together, that that organization focuses on. That one is called CMWP in New Haven. And then, like, for me specifically, I have a pretty strong, like, natural market. So a lot of times someone will either email me, call me, and then, like, with all the companies have websites. So like House of Changes has a website, social media outreach. And, we'll go to different meetings, like a town will have. For House of Changes specifically, there's 8 beds available for there. And that house is a 5-bedroom house. The house manager is actually on site. And then for the other 4 rooms, there's 2 beds in each room. So we've been full most of the year, but 3 men just left. So we actually have 3 spots available now. So that's based in Norwich. If you just look up House of Changes online, you could definitely find us, give us a call. You'll probably deal directly with the house manager, Marcus. So if you know anyone in need that would need a transitional home,
definitely will call on you.
Yeah, so that's an opportunity. It's a beautiful property. It was one of our nicer Airbnbs that we converted.
So I have a question. With the opioid pandemic that we're having, nation, it's just a nationwide situation that's tearing families up in the worst way. How do we look from your perspective, from a man still on the outside looking in? How are we managing ourselves with helping and targeting these situations that's running rampant in our urban cities and even in the suburbia settings as well?
So with drug addiction, we definitely need more resources, specifically in our big cities here in Connecticut. So there are funds available, We just need more programs, and with the change in administration, some of the funding is different and more competitive. So it's about persevering and being creative.
Right.
So we've been on our end, just really starting small and growing from there.
Okay.
We felt like that was the best way.
Right.
So you take it one step at a time, stabilize each step, make sure it's sustainable, and then scale it from there with the right resources. We had a fundraiser the day before Easter back in April.
Right.
So it was our first fundraiser, and we used some of the proceeds from that to hire a consultant to be able to put a program together to help with the fundraising aspect.
Okay.
So as you have more resources and you're spending it appropriately, we felt like from our perspective that we can have the right engagement and the right resources up front with the men specifically that we have under our care.
Right.
That will be the most impactful that we could be, and treating them more like a sports, like boarding school type of environment.
Get it.
Where it's done with a lot of tough love.
Because you have multiple layers.
Exactly. And our requirement is you have to have a growth mindset.
Right.
So you come in, you have house rules, and we try our best to meet you where you are.
Right.
And as long as you have that growth mindset and you're following the rules, and we're scaling from there, we're able to create a good environment where you're creating champions.
Wholesome, clean.
Yep.
There where everybody's intertwining and on board with the program at hand.
Yeah, so creating a really healthy environment.
Right.
Where it gives that person who may have suffered from addiction to be able to thrive.
That's a hard thing for a lot of people that's been caught up in that addiction.
Yeah.
So, may it be a drug addiction or just a street addiction.
Yeah, the lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
The lifestyle. Especially if you were thriving in that environment.
Right. I tell people a lot of times, being a person who's had people who are selling drugs or being a part of that drug trade was a horrible addiction in itself. Because it's like you finding yourself to have to fuel that animal of I'm somebody, or you have
it becomes part of your identity.
Right.
Yeah.
And the I want to backtrack. Having fathers in these programs, do you find them as they're leaving and then transitioning back into society a different person because they've rid themselves of the poison that they filtered through their body, compared to the rehabilitation of going through that day in and day out, because it's a lifelong occurrence of changing a mindset?
Yeah, so I think the mindset and making that determination that you'll never go back to that addiction, and having an environment that supports you in that, has been extreme. From what I've seen so far, has been extremely positive.
Great.
The biggest test for us is this warm weather. So we opened the house in November. So we filled up very quickly, and our retention rate was very high.
Right.
As it got warmer,
it shrank.
You notice it's a little bit different as it get warmer to see who's really all in.
Right.
Because now there's parties. It's easier to sleep somewhere when it's warmer versus when it's colder. So it was a humbling experience for us going into the warm season here in the spring and in the summer. But our first 4 men are still in the house.
That's great.
So that's a blessing.
Yeah.
And so we have 5 men out of the 8 in the house now. So we have 3 available. So, we've seen them grow, and we've grown ourselves. So our mindset is even between the house manager, the executive director, myself, and other team members were in that growth mindset also. So one big thing I personally get really passionate on focusing on is trauma.
Right. That's big.
Yeah. So I noticed, like, I grew up in the Bronx. I was there in the 90s, was born in 1985, right?
Crack era.
So we're talking crack era.
Right.
We're talking the neighborhoods where I was, a lot of Crips.
Right.
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 You had a lot of Bloods. So, you know, it can be a wild environment.
Right.
But, you know, focusing on the trauma, I noticed that, like, we're kind of trained to man up. So you ignore those, you kind of swallow those feelings, ignore those feelings. And a lot of times it's hard to tap into them, right?
Yes.
So for me, it was really hard for me to really get down to why do I feel this sad?
Right.
You know, like what's at the root of it? And it was always a challenge to kind of get there.
Right.
So from 2009 until, like, even now, I still go to therapy every week. Always work hard to not ignore any feelings and try to get to the root of the problems.
Yeah.
So, so trauma is like a big thing. So we just started looking at accelerated resolution therapy. It's like a newer version of EMDR. So that type of therapy, you can think about your trauma points without sharing it with the actual therapist. And the nice part about it, based on the results from all the research, it allows to unhook the emotions from the actual trauma. So it's almost like you're a person from the outside looking in.
Okay.
So to be able to offer something like that. So I did it, the executive director just did it in this room actually, which is kind of crazy today.
Wow.
And then also the house manager did it. So if we are expecting the men in the house to be in that growth mindset in order to help heal from trauma,
Right.
we should be doing it for ourselves
Absolutely.
too. And if you're going to be recommending things, it should be things that you believe in.
Right.
Right. And then you know better than me, and this is where I lean on people like you, Adam, for your experience. When someone's in the growth mindset, but they're not at a certain level yet where they're ready to receive it, like it's hard for them. Like that's been our biggest challenge is
Right.
keep trying to motivate them to keep stepping it up.
Right. Don't be
know?
scared.
Yeah, and get through things that's really gonna help you grow. So we felt like the best way to do it is by living by example, creating this environment, this healthy environment, and then keep adding resources as we go. So ART is one of the options that we work with. We have several clinicians that have been going in, every week or so in order to help.
Not to cut you off, what's ART?
That's accelerated resolution therapy.
All right.
Yeah.
I just want
that's
everybody
fine.
to understand exactly what's going on,
Yep.
what's being said at all times, because many times when you have these type of shows or you walk into an office, people are talking over your head.
Yeah.
We're talking to people. You know what I mean? Like,
and not being descriptive enough. So
Right.
they talk in more in jargon.
Right.
Versus in normal language.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, many people, we hood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or not saying that everybody's hood, but we want to include everybody in our community.
And you want to make sure that people are receiving the information that we're giving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Meet everybody where they're at.
Exactly.
So I got a question about how moving forward do we include the children that's been affected by not having the parent in the household to destroy, to annihilate these children that's running around in the streets now.
So that's in my opinion, for men like you and I to continue to step up no matter what.
Absolutely.
Right? So really finding that time to volunteer.
Yeah.
If you notice something, say something. Just really committing collectively to giving back. And then from a program standpoint, one of my dreams is to create a daddy daycare.
Okay.
The goal of that daddy daycare is specifically for single moms.
Right.
My mom was a single mom.
Right.
You know, I have a twin brother, and our biological dad didn't raise any of his kids.
Right.
So imagine having an environment with that fatherhood type of mindset
Right.
from the time mom first goes back to work, right? Some of the other ideas I have for that daycare is to do like for the mental load and to help the mother also.
Right.
So thinking like, what are attributes that an ideal partner would give, you know, to his girlfriend, wife, so on, or
What
her
are you
girlfriend,
bringing
wife.
to the table?
So like what we're thinking is like surprise grocery shopping,
Yes.
right? Surprise date night, surprise babysitting options. So we may not have enough resources to be consistent, but we could definitely put resources in place for surprise options.
Right.
And then depending on how well we are at communicating what we're doing and getting as much on paper as possible, we could actually set up some type of donation campaign
Right.
where, you know, where we're saying this is, you can donate specifically to helping out a single mom
Right.
in Hartford, Connecticut.
Right.
You know, and so you have a place specifically where you know the money is going directly to that.
Absolutely.
And you know, some of those small things, maybe, you know, someone in the neighborhood could volunteer and be available to just babysit.
Right.
You know, at nighttime, and that's something we can. You know, it doesn't always have to be monetary. It could be just given time, or if someone, you know, who's a good cook, you know, is on the list, just on the list, and says, you know what, I could donate a couple meals a year,
Right.
You know, and then we know that's available. So then we have this. So it doesn't always have to necessarily be money,
Right.
You know,
I believe in that notion that it takes a village. I never knew or understood what it meant when I was younger.
Yeah.
But as I'm older, I have a better understanding, a better take on it takes a village. I was getting my hair cut today, and we had a discussion to whereas the brother helps he holds basketball tournaments.
Okay.
To whereas he's giving back, trying to keep kids off the streets to one place, to whereas their mind is activated on something different than streets.
Exactly.
Because a lot of us have a lot of issues going on in the home, or it's just dysfunctional where nobody's there thinking about what Johnny is doing because I gotta put bread on the table, food, and or the father is locked away, or both parents is locked away. Which is a sad situation. But it's a curable situation if we step up in our communities and help abroad, you know what I'm saying, across the board.
Yeah, I think it's definitely curable. Mass incarceration is definitely a big part of that.
Absolutely.
And, you know, hopefully we can just start taking small steps
We got to.
towards correcting some of those issues.
Right.
You know, some of the statistics that we try to think about is when we make a decision on a program in the beginning is our ultimate goal would be to look at how do we limit the how do we decrease the suicide rate, you know. So, you know, to me, that's one of the biggest symptoms of poverty.
Right.
You know, I'm not saying that only people in poverty commit suicide, but when you hear of a veteran who's 65 committing suicide and he's not the only one, there's something wrong there that's leading that person to make that decision. So what can we do in an environment to help mitigate some of those issues? So when we think about designing programs, we try to think about, all right, as we scale it, where do we want to measure success?
Right.
You know,
what does it look like?
what does it look like, and then what can we do to start to get there, where we know at the end this is where we want to impact.
Right.
So, and we try to think along those lines in reference to supporting individuals who may get incarcerated.
Right.
And then how can we help create healthier environments where, we can reduce the incarceration rate. Recidivism was something we were talking offline.
Right.
What can we do when someone gets out of jail to create an environment where they're not going back into jail? So a good example for that is with a lot of transitional homes, the individual do great. They're in that transitional home for 6 months, 2 years, things are fine.
Right.
But they go back into the original environment, right? They don't have the support. They don't have all the things they need.
Right.
All it takes is one slip up and you're back in it.
Yeah.
And now you're back into the cycle. So one of our ideas was, why don't we create a second home?
Right.
So now that's a stage 2.
Right.
So they're in the second home for 6 months to 2 years. So for the second home, our goal would be they'll have their own room instead of sharing a room. Right. And it'll be more of a college dorm type environment where the house manager, the RA, will check in every week or so.
Yeah.
Right. So now you're slowly transitioning into a more freedom type environment.
Right.
Because a lot of the requirements with that is you get a job. So ideally they'll be having a job for over 2 years, but while they're in that second house. And then we're thinking about the third house. Potentially, we would love to create some type of rent-to-own option, right? So then they never went back into the environment that could be not the ideal environment for that individual, right?
Because if not to cut you off, the 3 stages, which are critical, is the immediate recovery, then the intermediate, in between, to whereas it can go left or it can go right. But if you're catching them in that,
we're only going up.
Right.
So
you're soaring.
Yeah, that's the goal, is, trying to create, like when we're designing this stuff, because we have the opportunities, because you're going to open more than one house. So why not design it where you just focus on the 8?
Right.
So if you're going to start with 8, you focus on the 8. So then they, so after they graduate from here, having that transition, so they have a better chance of success. They're in an environment with all like-minded people.
Right.
And it's easier to get volunteers to support in that type of environment.
So question, do you see it like, because the need is
crazy.
deep.
It's crazy.
So what's the numbers around that, and how, like if the city or the town came to you like, listen, we see what you're doing and it's very impactful. We need, like 50 beds, things of that nature. Could you have the resources or the people?
So we're working on building out those resources. So we've been working on a few different projects. So one aspect is the fundraising aspect.
Right.
So doing fundraisers, we set up all the platforms where people can donate. So if you go to House of Change's website.
Or partnering.
Yeah, or partnering.
Right.
And then we try to take a really humble approach.
Right.
Because we all have blind spots.
Right.
And the more experts and people with experience that you have, like I always enjoy talking to you, Adam, and talking to people with experience, because you understand how the system works, right? And then you understand the mindset. So if I can't, like, you could reach a lot more men than I could because of the experience that you went through, especially when we talk about specifically men who are incarcerated.
Right.
And you're a great testament to how do you thrive when you come out. So I'm really proud of who you are, where you've been. Like what men need to hear is being a dedicated partner to your girl.
Right,
It's
absolutely.
huge, you know. And, you know, historically, I would hear the opposite. You know, most men would hear the opposite.
Right.
So, you know, and understanding how valuable those decisions are, all those small decisions make a huge difference. So, you know, we would love, like, we expect that more resources will come in from grant funding and things of that nature, where we can scale. We're looking at an opportunity where we can offer more behavioral services and be more impactful. And then with that model, revenue will be higher. So allow us to scale and grow quicker. But again, you want to grow within your infrastructure too.
Right.
You know, and then some of the other projects we're looking at is there's a big housing crisis. So in general, which like that's some of the issues on the front end that leads to that's part of the poverty. So we're looking at seeing if we can develop tiny homes. So homes that are under 800 square feet. So instead of a house costing over $200,000 to build,
2,000.
trying to get it costs a normal house today in this Hartford area costs almost $200,000 to build. So if we can get it, if you can build them in bulk, so let's say you can build 50 houses at once, under 800 square feet, potentially we might be able to build it for under 125,000. So now it's more people qualify to purchase that house. So those are some of the things we're thinking about, and it's on a stabilized type of business model. So we're not dependent on grant funding in order to for an investor to be able to make it make sense. So then we have more inventory available. So you know, so it makes a lot more sense. And the more we can get people into home ownership, the better. You know, as long as that's something you can afford, and you're actually going to stay in that neighborhood for a good amount of time to be able to maximize the equity.
So, what's the numbers around the reentry into society?
So I don't remember the exact numbers in reference to someone who you talking about recidivism. You know, I don't remember the exact numbers, but they were high from what we're talking, you know, about 80%. It was something crazy like that. You know, where when you look at it from a mathematical standpoint, the way I felt emotionally was, is it really designed for them not to go back, or is it designed for them to go back? And you know, that's the question I end up asking when I see it from an emotional standpoint, to have those type of results. Because when you talk to these young men, grown men, women, the mindset isn't to go back. The mindset
is to stay here.
Is to stay here, stay out. And the challenges that I typically hear. Well, I had to apply for over 100 jobs. You know, you know, in order for me to make it, I had to start my own business. You know,
I need people.
You know, there wasn't, you know, all these jobs they say were available. I actually did apply for it, and I didn't get it, or I started to work it, and then, you know, over time I got released. So, you know, so the employment aspect, you don't have enough income in order to sustain yourself. You know, it leaves your options very limited.
So, to your point, I'm hearing, one, I don't have a vehicle. Well, not one. One, I don't have a license. I don't have a vehicle. How can I start something when I can't get out the gate? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's unique situations where, failure is not even an option for a person that was in my situation. Like, being away for 30,
Yep.
coming home, it's like, man, it's daunting because
Yeah.
you're hurled back into society with the very things that you got on your back.
Yep.
And you gotta, scrape through. And when you've been a prideful person or a person that's used to having the bare necessities or whatever you want whenever you want it, to fall back and be humbled and understand like, yo, it's a process. You gotta work this process. Like, you gotta walk through some dark times and just believe that some way, somehow, God is gonna make a way for you. And like, sometimes all you got is your faith. And your faith, when they carry you through to the other side, you're like that more appreciative of the things that you've been through and the talks that you may have encountered with other people that made it or may not even experience what you experienced, but had a gem or a nugget to help you move along or gave you that ride to go get you right with your social security number or things of that nature. Like, these are things that's very much needed on a large scale.
Yeah.
Because in every community these brothers and sisters are facing the same situation. And it's to be commended, the things that you're doing. And we just can't talk about it enough to whereas, listen, we need a constant hand wrapped around our community and our young people to understand, let them understand, like, yo, listen, I hear you. I get it. You know what I'm saying? You're acting out because there's no summer job. You get it, you know what I'm saying? Back in the days, we had summer jobs.
Yep.
Everybody didn't have it, but those that had it were able to get 2 weeks, you know what I'm saying, 3 weeks of hard-earned money to whereas they can help put food on the table, have money, you know what I'm saying, to help buy, you know what I'm saying, some clothes so they can go to school and feel good about themselves, to learn something, to want to learn. It's a multi-tier situation that's going on, and we find ourselves always in the next stage of dilemma. And I believe, with your set skill, your mindset, and the other people that you've come to place under your umbrella, it encompasses just the genuine, honorable people that you are and the people that you have surrounding you are. Because, listen, it's not a cakewalk. You know what I'm saying? You make it sound simple what you're doing and what you're implementing, man, but it's hard to put down because in all actuality, some people want to see you fail. And people that have these other places sometimes just don't want to share and give the nuggets that they got to help you succeed.
Which is like a limiting mindset.
Right.
We believe there's more than enough resources out there for everybody to eat. So if we can share knowledge or share what we know, we rather share it than hold on to it.
Indeed.
And then, to me, we feel like it's best to collaborate. You can do a lot more together.
Absolutely.
Than individually. And nobody's perfect. So, our goal is always be to grow and hold each other accountable. And, if there's relationships that we can build to really make a bigger impact on people, especially people within our communities, that's really important.
That's what I'm about, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no cap. Like, it's situations that's far greater than one individual, you know what I'm saying, or a group that's want to exclude everybody else that's bringing something to the table. If you're bringing something to the table, man, I want in, you know what I'm saying? Especially if it's good stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't no poison attitudes. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Ain't no people that just out to say or get that pat on the back. You know what I'm saying? I don't need a pat on the back. You know what I'm saying? I say that for the other people. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is, like, how are we being effective moving forward? You know what I'm saying?
And moving the needle forward.
Right.
You know, are we leaving a better environment for our children?
Yeah.
You know,
because right now, to turn your back on the young brothers, that soldiers out there, you know what I'm saying? They can be, man, utilizing their skill set in a whole total different way, you know what I'm saying? Because they're brave, you know what I'm saying? They're honorable. They just not doing the honorable things, you know what I'm saying? They just been misled to believe, you know what I'm saying? I just the only means for me to get it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna run roughshod over everybody. It's not about that, man. You know what I'm saying? And man, I thank you, man, for coming and shining, you know what I'm saying, light on the situation that's much needed.
Yeah, and I appreciate all that you're doing.
Man, listen, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Like coming here today, you know what I'm saying, out of your busy day. Man, that means a lot, man. And I hope you know what I'm saying, do a service to the communities abroad, and we build, you know what I'm saying, a bridge with each other, you know what I'm saying, to whereas we're doing some real positive things in the community sooner or later.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes,
looking forward to it.
Job, man, I appreciate you, brother.
You, brother.
You know what I'm saying? This has been another episode of Locked Up and Locked Out. Please join us on the next ride and venture.